Hello, my name is Madison, and if you think your family is complicated, wait until you hear what mine did to me. Picture this. You're 28 years old, finally engaged to the love of your life and planning your dream wedding. Then your parents announce they're combining your special day with your sister's 5th wedding anniversary celebration, and guess who gets to pay for everything? I'm talking about a $93,000 bill that was secretly planned behind my back for months. Credit card fraud, emotional manipulation, and a family conspiracy that would make a soap opera writer jealous. But here's the twist. I'm not the victim in this story anymore. I'm the one who turned the tables so completely that my family is still recovering from the aftermath. What started as wedding planning turned into financial warfare, and by the end, I had orchestrated the most satisfying revenge that cost me everything I was willing to lose, and gave me back something I never knew I could have: my freedom. Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt favor to ask. Please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes all the difference. You're probably wondering how a simple wedding turned into a masterclass in strategic rebellion. Well, buckle up, because this story has more plot twists than a Netflix thriller, and every single detail is absolutely true. By the time I'm finished, you'll understand why sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your family is teach them that you're not their personal ATM anymore. Growing up in Maplewood, Connecticut, I was what every parent claims they want, you, the responsible daughter. While my older sister Brooklyn lived her life like a Pinterest board come to life, I was the one who cleaned up the messes, paid for the emergencies, and smiled through every family gathering that somehow revolved around her latest drama. Brooklyn had mastered the art of being helpless in the most expensive ways possible. When she was 25, she announced her engagement to Tyler, a guy who looked great on Instagram but couldn't hold down a job longer than a tax season. 2 weeks after their engagement party, Dad called me into his mahogany-paneled home office, the same room where he'd lectured me about fiscal responsibility since I was 12. "Family comes first, Madison," he said, his voice carrying that tone that brooked no argument. "Brooklyn needs help with wedding expenses. Tyler lost his position at the accounting firm." Mom stood in the doorway, arms crossed, wearing her martyred expression. "If you really loved your sister, you'd want her to have her dream day." I was 23, fresh out of college, working 2 jobs and living in a studio apartment that smelled like the Thai restaurant downstairs. My savings account held exactly $15,000 money I'd scraped together for graduate school, for my future, for the life I was trying to build. Within an hour, every penny was transferred to Brooklyn's wedding fund. "It's just temporary," Dad promised. "You can always go back to school later." 3 semesters passed. Brooklyn danced at her reception in a $4,000 dress while I watched from the back row, still working those same 2 jobs, my dreams gathering dust like the acceptance letter from Northwestern that I'd never been able to accept. That night, as "At Last" by Etta James played during Brooklyn and Tyler's first dance, I made myself a promise while tears burned behind my eyes: never again. The words became my secret mantra, whispered in bathroom mirrors, and repeated during every family gathering where I was expected to be the reliable one, the giver, the solution to everyone else's problems. Fast forward 5 years to last spring. I'm working as a senior marketing coordinator at a tech startup in Hartford, living in a decent 2-bedroom apartment with my fiancé, Marcus, a software engineer who treats me like I'm worth protecting instead of exploiting. When he proposed on the hiking trails of Sleeping Giant State Park, I thought I'd finally found my fairy tale ending. We wanted something simple, 50 guests maximum, a ceremony at the historic Goodwin Hotel, maybe a reception at the Mark Twain House Gardens. Nothing extravagant, just intimate and meaningful. Our combined budget was reasonable, $12,000 that we'd saved together over 2 years. But the moment I announced our engagement at Sunday dinner, I saw that familiar gleam in Mom's eyes, the same expression she'd worn when Brooklyn announced hers. Dad immediately started talking about family traditions and how weddings were community celebrations. Brooklyn, now living in her McMansion in West Hartford, courtesy of Tyler's mysterious new job in pharmaceutical sales, began reminiscing about her perfect day. "Madison's always been so practical," Mom said, slicing the pot roast with surgical precision. "She'll understand that some things require a bigger vision." The way she said practical made it sound like a character flaw, something to be managed rather than appreciated. 2 weeks later, Mom called with news that made my stomach clench. "Darling, we have the most wonderful idea. What if we combined your wedding with Brooklyn and Tyler's 5th anniversary celebration? Think of the beautiful symbolism, AU past and future, tradition and new beginnings." Marcus was sitting across from me at our kitchen table, working on his laptop. When he saw my face, he quietly closed the screen and took my hand. "Let me think about it," I said, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. For the first time in my life, I hadn't immediately agreed to a family request. The silence that followed was deafening. "Think about it?" Mom's voice carried a note of genuine surprise. "Sweetheart, Brooklyn's already started planning. She's so excited to share this special day with you." After I hung up, Marcus pulled me onto the couch. "Something's not right about this," he said. "Your mom's voice changed when you didn't automatically say yes. Trust your instincts, Madison. What are they really planning?" That night, lying awake listening to Marcus's steady breathing, I felt that old familiar weight settling on my chest too. The expectation that I would comply, that I would make everyone else's dreams come true at the expense of my own. But this time felt different. This time, I had someone in my corner who didn't benefit from my compliance. 3 days after that phone call, I was supposed to be stuck in client meetings until 7. Instead, our biggest presentation got moved to the following week, and I found myself pulling into my parents' circular driveway in Avon at 5:30, planning to surprise them with an impromptu visit. The front door was unlocked, and I could hear voices drifting from Dad's study. I was about to call out when I heard Brooklyn's distinctive laugh. Oh, that sharp, triumphant sound she'd made since childhood whenever she'd gotten her way about something. "She'll cover everything just like before," Brooklyn was saying. "That's what responsible sisters do, right?" I froze in the hallway, my hand still on the doorknob. "The venue coordinator called this morning," Mom's voice carried clearly through the crack in the study door. "Riverside Country Club. They need a $15,000 deposit by Friday to hold the date. Madison won't mind. Oh, she's been saving for years." Dad cleared his throat. "What about the catering? Brooklyn wants the premium package." "Another $28,000, Brooklyn replied casually, as if discussing the weather. "Plus flowers, photography, the band I used for my wedding. Oh, they're available for the anniversary encore. Marcus won't need to contribute anything. Madison handles all their finances anyway." My legs felt unsteady. I pressed my back against the hallway wall, my purse sliding from my shoulder to the floor. "Have we told her the guest count yet?" Dad asked. 250, Mom said. "I already sent save the dates to the extended family, your golf club friends, and all of Brooklyn's sorority sisters. Everyone's so excited about the combined celebration." "And the best part," Brooklyn continued, her voice dripping with satisfaction, "is that it'll look like Madison's being generous and sisterly. No one will know she didn't have a choice." Their laughter felt like ice water in my veins. I quietly backed toward the front door, grabbed my purse, and slipped out without making a sound. In my car, I sat in their driveway for 10 minutes, hands shaking as I processed what I'd just heard. They weren't asking me to share my wedding day. They were stealing it. And they expected me to pay for the privilege of being erased from my own celebration. The realization hit me like a physical blow. They'd been planning this for months, making decisions about my life and my money without including me in a single conversation. I drove home in a daze, and when Marcus opened our apartment door, he took one look at my face and pulled me inside. "What happened?" "They've been planning this behind my back for months. I told Marcus, pacing our living room like a caged animal. Marcus, they're talking about $60,000 minimum, money I don't have and never agreed to spend. Marcus pulled out his laptop. Show me your recent bank statements. If they're this confident you'll pay, they might have already started making moves. What we found made my blood run cold. 3 withdrawals over the past month, each labeled as wedding planning deposits. $2,500 to Riverside Country Club, $3,200 to Elegant Events Catering, $1,800 to Anderson Photography Studio. All authorized with my saved payment information from when I'd helped with Brooklyn's wedding 5 years earlier. This is fraud, Marcus said, his programmer's mind immediately grasping the technical violations. They've been using your stored credit card information for unauthorized charges. My phone buzzed with a text from Brooklyn. Can't wait to discuss color schemes tomorrow. I'm thinking blush and gold to match my anniversary theme. Your dress should complement, not compete. DY. The casual presumption in that message lit something inside me on fire. I screenshot it and started a new folder on my phone. Evidence. Over the next 2 days, I played detective with my own family. I checked my credit report and found 3 new inquiries I hadn't authorized. I called the vendors listed on my statements, pretending to confirm details. Each conversation revealed more of their elaborate deception. "Oh, yes, Madison," the florist said cheerfully. "Brooklyn told us you wanted to surprise her with the exact same centerpieces from her original wedding. So thoughtful of you to recreate her special day for the anniversary." The catering manager was even more revealing. "Your mother mentioned you specifically requested the premium package because you wanted Brooklyn's anniversary to be even more special than her actual wedding day." But the worst discovery came when I logged into my online banking to find a new automatic payment scheduled, $4,200 monthly for the next 16 months to Madison's Wedding Fund, AU, a joint account I'd never opened, never authorized, and apparently had no access to, despite being the sole funding source. That evening, Marcus and I sat at our kitchen table with a yellow legal pad, mapping out the full scope of their financial conspiracy. The numbers were staggering. Venue, catering, flowers, photography, videography, music, alcohol, linens, favors, invitations that had already been printed and mailed without my knowledge. "They're not just stealing your wedding," Marcus said quietly. "They're stealing your entire financial future. Again." The word "again" hung in the air between us, heavy with the weight of my past compliance and their systematic exploitation. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my laptop, researching contract law and consumer protection statutes. If my family wanted to play financial warfare, they were about to learn they'd picked the wrong target this time. First, I called my bank's fraud department. Within 2 hours, I had new account numbers, new credit cards, and a formal investigation opened into the unauthorized charges. The customer service representative was sympathetic but clear. "These charges will be reversed, but you'll need to file a police report if you want to pursue criminal charges against family members." Next, I contacted each vendor directly. "I need to clarify something important," I told the venue coordinator at Riverside Country Club. "I never authorized my credit card to be used for deposits, and I never agreed to be financially responsible for this event. I'll need all contracts and financial obligations transferred to the actual parties planning this celebration." The silence that followed was telling. "Ma'am, we have multiple communications from your family members indicating you were handling all payments. Are you saying they misrepresented their authority to make these arrangements?" "That's exactly what I'm saying." By Wednesday afternoon, I had confirmation that every vendor had been told I was the financial guarantor for an event I'd never agreed to attend, let alone pay for. Mom had provided my contact information, my credit card details, and explicit assurances that I would cover all costs as a gift to Brooklyn. Marcus helped me draft a certified letter to each vendor, clearly stating my position. "I am not and have never been responsible for payments related to the event planned for date at your establishment. Any representations to the contrary were made without my knowledge or consent. But I wasn't just playing defense anymore. Thursday morning, I called Brooklyn directly. "Hey, sis," she answered, her voice bright with artificial enthusiasm. "Perfect timing. I just left the dress shop. I found the most amazing champagne-colored gown for the anniversary ceremony. It'll photograph beautifully next to your dress. Brooklyn, we need to talk about the financial arrangements for this combined celebration." Her pause lasted just long enough to confirm she knew exactly what I was referring to. "What do you mean? Dad said you were handling everything, like always." "I never agreed to handle anything. In fact, I never agreed to a combined celebration at all." "Madison, don't be ridiculous. Family helps family. You've always been the responsible one." The phrase hit me like a slap, but this time, instead of accepting it, I felt clarity. "You're right, Brooklyn. I am responsible. I'm responsible for protecting my own financial future, this time." Friday morning, I received a call that changed everything. "Ms. Parker, this is Janet Walsh from Riverside Country Club. We need to discuss some discrepancies regarding your event." "I'm listening." "Your parents came in yesterday demanding to know why vendors were contacting them about payment responsibilities. When we explained that you'd withdrawn financial authorization, your father became quite vocal. He insisted the event was already paid for with your approval." My stomach clenched. "What did you tell them?" "The truth. That we have documentation of unauthorized use of your financial information, and we're required to report this to our legal department. Ma'am, this appears to be a case of financial fraud committed by family members." That afternoon, I sat in the law offices of Stevens & Associates, a family law firm in downtown Hartford. Attorney Rebecca Chen reviewed my evidence with the detached professionalism of someone who'd seen this scenario before. "Financial abuse by family members is more common than people realize," she said, organizing my documents. "The unauthorized use of your credit information alone constitutes fraud. The pattern of manipulation around your sister's previous wedding establishes intent. You have grounds for criminal charges." "I don't want to destroy my family," I said. "I just want them to stop treating me like their personal bank account." "Then we give them a choice," Rebecca replied. "Full financial responsibility for their event or legal consequences. Sometimes the threat of exposure is enough to restore sanity to family dynamics." That evening, I invited my parents and Brooklyn to dinner at our apartment. Marcus had volunteered to work late, giving me space to handle this confrontation alone. They arrived expecting wedding planning discussions. Instead, they found legal documents spread across our dining room table. "What's all this?" Mom asked, her voice carefully neutral. "Evidence of fraud, forgery, and financial abuse," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Attorney Rebecca Chen has advised me that I have grounds for criminal charges against all three of you." Dad's face flushed red. "Don't be dramatic, Madison. We're family. Family doesn't use each other's credit cards without permission. Family doesn't forge financial commitments, and family doesn't systematically exploit the responsible member for years." Brooklyn sank into a chair, her usual confidence evaporating. "We were just trying to create something beautiful. At my expense, without my consent, while lying to vendors about my involvement." I placed the contract modification agreements on the table. "Here's what's going to happen. You sign these documents transferring full financial responsibility to yourselves. You have 48 hours to secure your own payment methods with every vendor, or I file criminal charges Monday morning." The room fell silent except for the ticking of our wall clock. The morning of what was supposed to be my wedding day, I woke up in a luxury suite at the Omni Hotel in New Haven, 40 miles away from Riverside Country Club. Marcus was already up, sitting by the window with his coffee, watching the sunrise over Long Island Sound. "No regrets?" he asked, pulling me onto his lap. "None," I said, and meant it completely. Instead of the circus my family had planned, we were having our actual wedding at the historic Lyman Allen Art Museum. 30 people who genuinely loved us, officiated by Marcus's college roommate who'd gotten ordained online specifically for our ceremony. The reception would be at a waterfront restaurant in Mystic, intimate and perfect. My phone had been buzzing all morning with increasingly frantic texts from my family. I turned off notifications 2 days earlier. At 10 a.m., my friend Jessica called from her reconnaissance position near Riverside Country Club. "You need to hear this," she said, barely containing her laughter. "There are maybe 60 people in the parking lot, half of them looking confused. Your mom is standing at the entrance with a clipboard, telling everyone there's been a scheduling mix-up." "What about Brooklyn and Tyler?" "That's the best part. Brooklyn showed up in a full wedding dress, white, with a train claiming it's her anniversary renewal ceremony. Tyler looks like he wants to disappear into the ground." Several guests have asked why the bride isn't here for her own wedding. At 11:30, Dad called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Madison, where are you? People are asking questions we can't answer." "I'm getting ready for my actual wedding, Dad, the one you weren't invited to." The silence stretched between us. "You can't do this to your sister. She planned everything around sharing this day with you. She planned everything around stealing this day from me. There's a difference. The vendors are demanding immediate payment for services rendered. We don't have $60,000, Madison." "Then you shouldn't have planned a $60,000 event." I hung up and turned my phone completely off. At 2 p.m., surrounded by people who celebrated Marcus and me rather than trying to diminish us, we exchanged vows we'd written ourselves. No drama, no hidden agendas, no one trying to make our day about themselves. The best revenge wasn't elaborate or cruel. It was simply living well, choosing joy, and refusing to be anyone's financial victim ever again. 2 weeks after our real wedding, the full scope of my family's financial disaster became clear. Brooklyn called me crying actual tears, not the manipulative kind she'd perfected over the years. "Madison, you have to help us," she sobbed into the phone. "The vendors are threatening lawsuits. Dad had to take out a second mortgage on the house. Mom's stress-eating herself sick." "Help you with what exactly?" "The payments. We can't cover everything. Tyler lost his job again and we're already behind on our mortgage. Mom and Dad's retirement account is completely emptied." For a moment, I felt the familiar tug of guilt, the conditioned response to fix everyone else's problems. Then I remembered the contract modification documents they'd signed, the legal paperwork that clearly established their financial responsibility. "Brooklyn, you planned a $60,000 event without the means to pay for it. That's not my problem to solve." "But we're family." Family doesn't commit fraud against each other. Marcus and I had used the money we'd saved for their extravagant circus to pay off my student loans and start a house fund. For the first time in my adult life, I was debt-free and building something for myself. A month later, Mom showed up at my office. She looked older, worn down in a way I'd never seen before. "Can we talk?" We went to the coffee shop across the street. Mom stirred her latte obsessively, avoiding eye contact. "The country club is garnishing your father's wages," she said finally. "We had to file for bankruptcy protection." I felt a stab of something, not quite guilt, but sadness for the choices they'd made. "I'm sorry that happened." "Are you?" she asked, looking at me directly for the first time. "Because it feels like you planned this whole thing as revenge." "I didn't plan anything, Mom. I just refused to be your scapegoat again." She was quiet for a long time. Then, unexpectedly, "Your therapist was right." "My therapist?" "The one you saw after Brooklyn's wedding. She called me, said you were struggling with family dynamics. I hung up on her, thought she was trying to turn you against us." Mom's hands shook slightly around her coffee cup. "She said we were teaching you that your value came from what you could provide rather than who you were." A year later, Marcus and I are homeowners in a cozy colonial in East Hartford. Brooklyn and Tyler divorced 6 months ago. Apparently, financial stress revealed fundamental incompatibilities they'd been ignoring for years. She's living with mom and dad again, working as a receptionist at a dental office, slowly paying back her share of the wedding debt. Dad eventually found a way to refinance their house and avoid bankruptcy, but their retirement dreams of traveling and golfing are permanently altered. Mom started seeing a therapist and has actually apologized, genuinely, without expecting anything in return. The strangest part is that our relationship is better now than it's been in years, not because they've changed completely, but because I have. I set boundaries and enforce them. I offer support when appropriate, but I don't sacrifice my future for their convenience. Brooklyn still struggles with the concept that I won't automatically solve her problems, but she's learning to ask instead of assuming. Would you be willing to help me? Instead of, you need to, makes all the difference. Last month, she asked if I'd co-sign a lease for a small apartment. I said no, kindly but firmly, and suggested resources for people rebuilding credit after financial setbacks. She was disappointed but didn't explode or manipulate. Progress. The wedding photos from our real ceremony sit on our mantel now. Marcus and me laughing in the museum's sculpture garden, surrounded by friends who chose to celebrate us instead of using us. The joy in those pictures is authentic because it wasn't purchased with financial coercion or family guilt. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for people who repeatedly take advantage of your kindness is to stop enabling their behavior. Not everyone will understand that boundary, and that's okay. The people worth keeping in your life will learn to respect the new rules. Would I do anything differently? Maybe I would have stood up for myself sooner, saved myself years of financial exploitation and emotional manipulation. But I'm grateful for the lesson it taught me. You teach people how to treat you, and sometimes the best education comes with a very expensive price tag.